Something about today feels quietly split in two, and if you are a Cancer, you may already sense it without knowing why. On one hand, there is a pull toward brightness, toward saying yes to plans, showing up warmer than usual, wanting the day to feel special. On the other hand, there is a quieter undertow, a pull toward the mirror, toward the diary, toward a version of you that only shows up when the door is closed. Both of these are real today. Neither one is wrong. But here is what makes this day worth paying attention to. The chart is asking you to be two things at once: visible and honest with the people around you, and private and honest with yourself. What happens when those two demands meet in the same 24 hours is the story we are about to walk through. The bigger picture. In Vedic or sidereal astrology, the moon is moving through Leo today, activating what many practitioners read as your second house of resources and self-worth. This is the kind of transit that tends to lift mood almost without explanation. You may feel charged, a little brighter than usual, more inclined to treat an ordinary Friday like it deserves something extra. Many people with this placement report, wanting to step outside their routine, gather the people they trust, and simply enjoy being alive for a few hours. At the same time, in Western tropical astrology, Mercury, sitting in your second house of resources, is forming a sextile to Venus in your fourth house of home. A sextile is a cooperative angle. It does not force anything, but it opens a door. This particular door connects money and comfort. It suggests that conversations about budgets, rent, groceries, or what would make your living space feel more supportive can happen today with unusual warmth. The planet of communication and the planet of value are, for once, working the same shift. Underneath both of these lighter transits sits something more internal, a theme that does not name a specific planet in the source material, but reads unmistakably as a psychological, evolutionary current. It is the sense of a private turning point. Not a public transformation, but a solitary one. A moment where you catch your own reflection and have to answer an honest question about how you are actually doing. Here is where the first real synthesis happens. The Vedic moon in Leo wants you outward, social, celebratory. The evolutionary current wants you inward, examining, quiet. These are not contradictions. They are two chapters of the same day. The chart seems to be suggesting that you can have a genuinely warm, memorable day with others and still carry a private thread of self-examination underneath it. One does not cancel the other. In fact, the version of you who shows up brightest for others today may be the same version who has been doing quiet work behind closed doors. Love. If you are partnered, there is a specific pattern worth watching today, and it starts small. The Mercury-Venus sextile makes it easier to talk about practical things, money, chores, what makes home comfortable, without the conversation turning cold or tense. That is a gift most days do not offer. But there is a trap hidden inside that same ease. It can tempt you to only bring up the big, obvious topics and quietly skip the small ones. You might recognize this if there is a minor preference you have been sitting on: a different meal, a different plan for the weekend, a small ask you have decided is not worth mentioning. The chart suggests those unspoken preferences do not disappear. They just wait, and over time they can turn into recurring irritations neither person can quite explain. The energy today leans toward naming the small thing while the tone is still warm, rather than letting it accumulate into something sharper later. For those examining a relationship, or sitting with someone whose actions have not quite matched their words, the private, reflective undertone running beneath today's moon becomes useful here too. Before you decide what someone else's silence or distance means, the chart favors turning that same question inward first. What do you actually want from this connection, and have you said it out loud? That answer may matter more than anything the other person does today. If you are single, this same warmth extends outward more easily than usual. The Leo moon's brightness paired with the Venus-Mercury ease can make you more approachable, more willing to speak up, more comfortable naming what you are actually looking for instead of hinting at it. Many people carrying this combination find that a direct, low-pressure conversation lands better today than usual. Not because attraction is guaranteed, but because clarity tends to travel further than mystery does when the aspects are this cooperative. Career. That same clarity has a second home at work. The confidence many Cancers feel building today under the Leo moon does not need to stay locked in your personal life. It is just as useful in a meeting, a negotiation, or a decision you have been putting off. The window many astrologers point to as especially favorable falls in the late morning, roughly between 10 and a quarter past 11, when planning tends to land with unusual clarity. You may notice a moment today where you feel more capable than the situation strictly demands. A task that would normally feel routine suddenly feels like an opportunity to do something a little more ambitious with it. That is worth acting on. The same sextile that is softening money conversations at home also tends to make workplace conversations about resources, a raise, a budget request, a fair split of responsibilities land more smoothly than usual. The tone you use to talk about value at home today is largely the same tone that will serve you at work. What is easy to miss is how closely this connects to the private, reflective thread running underneath everything. Confidence that comes purely from outside validation tends to fade quickly. Confidence that has been quietly tested in private, in that mirror, in that diary, holds up under pressure. If today's boost feels solid rather than fragile, it may be because some of that inner work has already been done, even if no one else saw it happen. Money. This is where two of today's clearest signals meet directly. The Mercury-Venus sextile makes it genuinely easier to talk about money without the conversation feeling transactional or cold. If there is a shared cost, a household expense, or a number that has been avoided, the chart favors naming it plainly today, explaining the reasoning behind it, and offering one concrete adjustment rather than a vague request. Comfort tends to improve when care comes with numbers attached, not just good intentions. At the same time, the bright, expansive mood tied to the Leo moon carries a real caution. Confidence and luck can feel similar in the moment, even when they are not the same thing. Many astrologers watching this combination suggest treating any unexpected windfall or sudden generous impulse with a pause rather than immediate action. If money arrives unexpectedly today, or if a purchase suddenly feels irresistible, the energy favors waiting a beat rather than committing on the spot. Here is the part that ties it together. If you do want to spend on something for your home, new sheets, a better chair, one appliance that saves you real time every day, the chart does not say no. It says be strategic. Compare the price. Wait for the version that is actually worth it. Pleasure and prudence are not opposites under this sky. The trick, several source readings agree, is refusing to sacrifice one for the other. Health. Something quieter is happening beneath the mood today, and it deserves a moment before we move further into the day. The confidence and warmth many Cancers feel is not just surface-level cheer. It may be sitting on top of real emotional material that is asking to be noticed rather than rushed past. Paying attention to what is actually behind a good mood or a sudden burst of energy tends to matter more than the mood itself. Physically, staying hydrated is a simple but real piece of guidance worth repeating today, especially if the day turns into something more social or active than usual. Emotionally, the same private, self-examining current from earlier resurfaces here in a practical form. A few quiet minutes journaling, sitting with a feeling rather than explaining it away, noticing what a mirror or a private moment reveals can do more for you today than an external distraction would. On the subject of remedies, some Vedic practitioners may recommend Saturn-related practices, including specific gemstones or mantras for individuals whose birth charts support them. This is not universal advice, since gemstone prescription in Vedic astrology depends on a full reading of an individual's chart, including planetary placement and dignity. What is safe for everyone is simpler: color, breath, rest, and a few honest minutes with yourself. Home and family. The warmth building around today's moon finds one of its best outlets close to home. Gathering with people you trust, family, close friends, whoever counts as your people, is something several readings point to directly today, and it pairs naturally with the earlier money conversation. If home has felt a little more stretched than supportive lately, this is a day where naming what would help does not have to feel like a complaint. It can simply sound like care with a plan attached. You may notice that small domestic decisions, what to cook, how to split a task, whether to finally fix that one thing that has been annoying everyone, move more smoothly today than usual. The same cooperative angle between resources and comfort that is helping money conversations is helping household ones too. If there has been a minor tension simmering at home, today offers unusually good footing to address it directly instead of working around it. Travel and spirit. There is a pull today to step outside the ordinary rhythm of the week, and it is worth listening to. Several readings point towards stepping away from routine, even briefly, as something that genuinely refreshes rather than distracts. A short outing, a change of scenery, time spent somewhere that is not your usual four walls can do real work on your mood. But travel and stillness are not opposites today, even though they might seem like it. The same day that favors going out with people you care about also favors returning, at some point, to that private inner room, the mirror, the diary, the quiet self-examination that has been running underneath everything since this reading began. Picture it like a bridge. One side leads outward, toward people and movement. The other leads inward, toward reflection. Today does not ask you to choose a side. It asks you to cross the bridge in both directions before the day ends. Lucky signs. If you are looking for the day's finer details, green carries favorable associations today, and the window between roughly 10 in the morning and 11:15 stands out as a particularly useful stretch for planning or decision-making. Energy that feels social, warm, and a little bit generous tends to be well supported, provided the generosity stays intentional rather than impulsive. Tade's guidance. By now, the shape of the day should feel clearer than it did at the start. The brightness many Cancers are feeling today is real, and it is worth using for a conversation about money that has been avoided, for a moment of confidence at work, for time spent with people who matter. But underneath that brightness, there is a quieter invitation running the entire time. To actually look at what is driving the feelings you are having, rather than simply enjoying or dismissing them. That is the real shift. Say the number instead of hoping it is understood. Ask for the meal, the plan, the split that actually reflects what you value instead of staying quiet because it feels too small. And somewhere today, give yourself the version of solitude this chart has been quietly asking for, not as a retreat from the day's warmth, but as the thing that makes the warmth mean something. The revolution today is not loud. It is the kind that happens when you finally tell yourself the truth in the mirror, and then walk back out into the day a little more certain of who you are.